we've certainly known that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein have been close friends for a very long time, that they've enjoyed the party scene together for a very long time. We know that they have the same taste in women, which Donald Trump described as being on the younger side. But there is something we learned today that we didn't know for sure until today, which was that Donald Trump's accuser was paid a settlement by the Epstein estate. And that is dramatic news for those of us who've been following this for a while, because generally speaking, you don't pay off accusers if you don't think that there's some legitimacy to what they're saying. I mean, it's just not normal for that to happen. So that is one of the things we're going to be discussing today, and we'll listen to a bit of the press conference in a bit. The other thing that came out today was the 5 big names that Richard Kahn identified as being the major names that provided funding for Jeffrey Epstein. So we'll go through those 5 names. There's no surprises there, and it may not be the full list, but it's interesting that happened. And the third thing that happened today, which is something, Dean, you mentioned earlier on the 5 stack, which is all about Comer. Yesterday on Fox News, Comer admitted something that we all knew, that in 2019, Donald Trump killed all the investigations by the FBI and in the Justice Department of every investigation into Jeffrey Epstein after Jeffrey Epstein died, which, is an unusual thing to do when you think about the guy just died as a crime, as a victim of a crime potentially, and you kill all the investigations. You add all those things together, you've now got an accuser who's getting paid off by the Epstein estate, an accuser of Donald Trump who's getting paid off by the Epstein estate. You've got the shutdown of all these investigations during the Trump presidency by the Trump DOJ in 2019. And it's not just that there's a cover-up. There is a sustained effort over 10 years or more to shut down this investigation and make sure that this does not see the light of day. And we'll maybe start with our future congressman there. Their thoughts about everything that we found out today from the deposition and that little bit that leaked out. We're still going to have the full transcript, but the little bit out today.
Yeah, I can't wait. Well, I think the first thing you started off with was, I think, a doozy. I think that should be breaking news all over. The fact that, we validated, there was breaking news. Roger Sollenberger, after Pam Bondi's deposition, he came out and said, wait a second, we found this. There's another 13 or 15-year-old girl that there's depositions in here at 302s that are missing. This whole thing came out. All of a sudden, they started blocking it. We started covering up. The Wolfpack got right on it. Ellie, Zev, Kate, you guys went through it incredibly. And what did we uncover? Yeah, there was a lot more to it than just a complaint. There was 3-4, that there was follow-ups. There was 302s that were missing. And then we realized that there was actually a payoff to a victim by the Epstein estate. And the one thing that everybody was doubting, saying, well, we don't know if this is the same person that, accused Donald Trump and she got. Well, today, facts are out. Basically, we have a 13 to 15-year-old victim that accused Donald Trump, the sitting president of the United States, of some of the most horrific thing about, I'm not even going to repeat, about how he smacked her in the head and all the other things. And today, the accountant validated and said the Epstein estate paid off this victim.
But just to be clear, nothing in this suggests that the accusations against the president raping this young girl at 13 is proven out by the fact that there is a settlement. I mean, there just isn't. You can often settle with people and just there's no necessarily validation in the details of it. We should say that because
we have to say it. This is the sad part, folks, because we have to say it because we're living in such a divided country right now. Look at the bottom line. Look, if I'm sitting right now here and I walked outside, it was sunny, beautiful sunny, and all of a sudden I hear thunder and I hear that it's pouring and I come out and it's soaking wet outside, but I didn't see it actually rain. I could think with my own head, say, yeah, it probably rained just now. That's the logical solution. Same thing here. Same thing in a court of law, folks. Not every conviction is with a smoking gun. Donald Trump has pushed the narrative to such a degree.
To your point, we don't even need the sounds and the noise. We've got visuals. We've got 31 different verified sexual predation accusations against Donald Trump. We've also got a rape adjudication. He's an adjudicated rapist. This isn't just a pattern. This is who he is. This is what he does. And so, Ellie, when we talk about a payment, Jeffrey Epstein's estate, in 2023 to an accuser who might have been a minor, who might be this Katie Johnson lady, we don't know. I mean, this is all in the ether. But point us in that direction according to your research if you can, or at least try to help us make some sense of that, because what we heard today was very vague. And then, the congressman said, hey, let's wait for the transcripts. You'll be able to see everything. What did you make of that? How do you parse this together in something that, we can populate in terms of really decent understanding of what it is that was paid off, who was paid off, and who you think it might be according to your research?
This has been a test of my research skills because everything that was described and supposedly took place was all very, very pre-internet. So for the past 48 hours, I've been underwater with microfiche and
Wow.
archived
school.
newspapers
Wow.
and little learning how to do different versions of different names. And it's a tough case because her mother was married multiple times. Her names changed multiple times. They moved every 6 months. The kids all had different last names. There was a lot of interesting things. I learned what age she was. I found out her birth date. I found out she had 2 brothers. And so I got yearbooks from those years because you can find the yearbooks online and started matching up siblings to figure out who these kids were and where they went. There are things that we still need to discover, but everything that she said in the minute details, I was able to track down. She said that her mother bought a house in this complex in 1981 for $55,000. And I found the deed for the house her mother bought with her mother's name on it. I was able to find the crimes that her mother committed. I was able to find the welcome note in the newspaper when her mom moved to town with the kids to become a realtor that said, this person is now working here and she has 3 kids in the school system and this is their names. And so I was able to track everything down, but there's really, really specific details in this case that have to do with the where, what, when, why, and how. But the main things we have to find out is if there's anything on the record, if there's any paperwork that was kept that would show that Epstein rented a house there, because these were vacation rentals. These were not long-term living arrangements. And then the whole place went through a bankruptcy. So they went through these multiple iterations. And then we have to figure out if he took the girl back up to New York. Hi, Kate.
Hello, for joining us. Hey, Justice.
Figure out.
How about you? We thought Dean did a change, but no, Dean's still here. Hey, Dean.
Hey, guys, no, I lost audio because all my shit doesn't work. So anyway,
you should look for the next few days.
Hi, Kate.
Hey, Justice, Dean Gundell, Kate, Dean, great.
Yeah.
You were in the middle of a very important conversation. So
just keep going.
What Ellie was saying is extremely important. I wanted to touch on it too. Go ahead, Ellie. I wanted to say.
Yes. So when you go through these, I've gone through the articles, the Post and Courier out of Hilton Head.
Hilton Head, yeah.
Carolina, yeah. No, they're doing great work.
They're doing the most fantastic journalism down there for a small town newspaper. They're actually their main journalist. She worked, I forget where she worked. She worked for a major news outlet, and then she came down to work back at her hometown newspaper. So just amazing journalism, the things that they've been able to scrape up and find. But there's just, down to, I was saying the other day, the woman described that she had a panic attack with one of her roommates because he was wearing a certain kind of cologne that triggered her that she didn't know would bother her. She didn't ever think about it, but she smelled it and she had a panic attack. And so they traced back to figure out, and her roommate remembers this. They looked to see what kind of cologne he was wearing, and it was called gray flannel. Gray flannel was from the early 80s. So that would be a trigger for her. There was just a lot of, when you think of the story of Donald Trump, the victim didn't initially tell that story. She wasn't forthcoming and saying this happened to me. It was actually her close friend and confidant from high school that came forward and said, she told me these stories years and years and years and years and years ago, and she's leaving this part out. And so the FBI interviewed the friend, and she said, this part happened. She's not saying this, but this part happened, and that had to do with Donald Trump. And then they went back to her, and she validated that that did happen with Donald Trump. But she didn't, again, she called this guy Jeff. She didn't know who Jeffrey Epstein was. She'd never heard of him until we all had heard of him. And so you can say, well, was it Jeffrey Epstein? Was it not? But she remembered that the guy who did all this, who pretended to hire her for babysitting because she had flyers out to babysit in the neighborhood, she remembered he looked like Lurch from the Addams Family. That was her memory of him, and which totally, that hits. He totally looks like Lurch from the Addams Family. And so her friend was like, hold on, this guy's in the newspaper. I need you to come see this. showed her the newspaper article, and she's like, that's the guy. It looks I mean, he's older, but like that looks like the guy. So she was one of these people who she's had 4 interviews at least with the FBI. She's fully represented by high quality law firms that give credibility to her case. And she also didn't really want to talk to the FBI. She wasn't very comfortable doing it. She kind of didn't want to say everything. They stopped interviews. They came back other days. She wasn't somebody who was like really, really excited to tell this story. And again, we have to prove things. We have to prove that he rented a house there. We have to prove that she was on a plane up to New York with him. But there's a lot of credibility to the things that she's saying because, again, she did receive a settlement from the...
Yeah, before you jump in there, Lev, let me just say that you're absolutely right. And I differ with some of my research from your research, but it's impeccable work you've done. And absolutely, the question mark that we have is, was Jeff Epstein, the Jeff that she's talking about, did he have that modus operandi of drugging or giving drugs and alcohol to this girl, which is unfamiliar to us? And then the timeline is really challenging between when he met Trump and Epstein, or when they supposedly met, and when this incident supposedly happened. There's a few other details around concerts and all sorts of things we need to figure out. But the one pattern that is consistent is the fact that Donald Trump pays women off who make accusations of rape against him. This is a pattern that we can see happen over and over again. We saw it with Stormy Daniels. We saw it with all the other women, 30 women that you've mentioned, Dean. And it's also what we saw happen in this case with Jeffrey Epstein, in this case, paying that settlement, which is hugely significant. Sorry, Lev, go ahead.
No, absolutely. Thank you for adding that. But I just want to say, first of all, incredible work, Ellie, Kate, Zev. Dean. So I just want to say one thing. Just think about what we're talking about. There's a person sitting in prison right now by the name of Weinstein that probably first of all deserves it all along. Ellie knows it. She worked on the case. But let's understand. There wasn't crowdsourcing that was doing this case with Weinstein. The Southern District of New York was doing it.
Right.
Think about all of this accusation, all of these things that are coming out. If this was properly done by the FBI, by the Southern District of New York, by all of these things, Donald Trump would not be president probably of the United States. Let's understand, folks, like at some point he would have been called in and questioned and testified. And this is, I mean, we could sit here. If we made a list, if we took the Epstein files and we took a look at whose name is in most of it, let me ask you this question. How many people are actually accused of raping girls in the Epstein files? As far as I know, it's Donald Trump. It's Epstein, maybe Ehud Barak, I think.
Just daily, there's a few, there's quite a few.
But Donald Trump is part of that specific group.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is, you're
More than anybody else.
More than anybody else. And he goes farther, where the actual right now victim we're talking about is getting actual settlement on the record. We're talking about all of these things that bring Donald Trump. There's so much, like they call circumstantial evidence, that if he wasn't being protected by the DOJ, if he wasn't being protected by the FBI, if this was really a normal case, right now he would be indicted and there would be a DOJ FBI investigation going into through all of these things, connecting the dots thoroughly, looking into it, and there's a lot more like that. I've seen a lot more people sit in prison for a lot less of circumstantial evidence than we're seeing. Thank you, Dean. Thank you. But what I'm saying to you is, like, if it smells like a duck, walks like a duck, talks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a effing duck. You know what I'm saying to you? Yeah. So, we keep looking for that smoking gun. I think this is the smoking gun.
Oh, there's a fog. There's never mind a smoking gun. There is so much smoke. You couldn't see. You can find your way in it. I mean, you can
smoking gun. This is the smoking howitzer. When we talk about what happened today in Richard Kahn's testimony, and I said this to Zev today, Lev. Which is weird when I said this to Zev today, Lev.
Everything rhymes.
I said that there's so many Levs and Zevs here. But I said this today. I said, this is the first, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kate, correct me if I'm wrong, Ellie, love you both so much. Love your work. Everybody subscribe to these two incredible human beings right now. But as far as I understand it, and co-sign this or tell me I'm wrong, this is the first time we've got a financial transaction that's happened between victims of the Epstein estate, as it has anything to do with Donald Trump allegedly raping, trafficking, sexually abusing a minor. Is that not correct?
I mean, as far as I know,
he's the only one. Him and Jeff.
He's in terms of like a deposition, like, maybe there's things in the files, maybe But as far as like somebody that's been deposed or anything that's new that's come out, yeah, exactly.
Someone under
This is a can of worms. Actually, there is a
Yes.
huge story to be told, and we'll all tell it, I'm sure, in the next few months, about the settlements that happened after Jeffrey Epstein's case. That Richard Kahn and Darrell Indyke, as the executives of the estate, doled out tons of cash to a bunch of people. Survivors, victims, call them what you will. There were different categories. There were some people who enabled it, who were classified as survivors, but they weren't really survivors. There were some people who were pimps, basically, and were still got funding out of the state. It's a way of
funding.
Yeah, because it's a way of keeping people quiet, right? I mean, you pay people off to keep them quiet. So there is $25 million of settlements that were paid out, including to this woman who made these allegations against Donald Trump, which we have to all look into, and we all have to question who decided on those, why were they allowed to make those payments, and why would Indyke and Kahn be the ones to do it?
Indyke and Kahn were catalysts for all the payments, just so everybody understands something. And what I understand to be true is that the Epstein estate had about $650 million in liquid cash. And then on top of that, we've got JP Morgan Chase, which ended up in
assets. I think it was assets, $650 million in assets.
Okay, cool. $650 million. Drop in the bucket.
I have been actually writing about this, so that's why I was late to the show. So
hey, give it up. Why are you holding up the nails? Let's go.
I'm making the home stretch here. I'm going to hopefully publish it tonight because I have no self-control. And like when I finish something, I just publish it.
I know. I got all the keywords in there. I'm going to get it in.
And it's going to have to be two parts, but the gist of it has to do with Kahn. And it's funny that he was deposed today. But really, I found something between... Oh God, I can't remember his name now.
Indyke?
No, it was. I guess you'll have to wait for the story. I'm like blanking because now we're talking about these guys. But it basically broke down the Farkas. That's who it was. Farkas.
Andrew
It was
Farkas.
between. Yes, it was between. Yep, it was between Epstein and Andrew Farkas.
Why
and
do I know that name? Remind me. That's just when you said that just
to Trump. He donated to Trump. He went
I know that name.
to his
Like, when you
first inauguration with the Sultan, I believe.
I know Andrew Farkas. I gotta look into my Rolodex.
Yes,
Because when you said Farkas, I said Andrew.
You would know Andrew Farkas. But anyway, this broke down this $100 million payment.
With the receipts.
Yes, there he is. That's that guy. And it broke down this $100 million payment that he was trying to justify. He's like, well, I can go to all these banks and it's like a 2%. I'm too poor to really understand all this stuff. So I had to do a lot of research, but it's like 2% where, I can't justify the cost of Jeffrey Epstein essentially. And it's this conversation between the two of them. And it really breaks down what Epstein was doing. So it started to make sense. Well, maybe this is what Leon Black was really paying for. And so I really started to figure out it has to do with a lot of the sovereign wealth funds and the fact that these sovereign wealth funds need a place to put all of their money, right? If they invest their money into their own countries, then these families risk the chance of these countries doing something and taking some control. As of right now, a lot of these royal families control the sovereign wealth, but they aren't really investing it. So they need these vehicles to invest it outside. And I believe Jeffrey Epstein was the vehicle that they used without needing to do all of the compliance stuff. Because when you get these people in the rooms, the SEC and all these people who are watching, they're going to go, what are these guys doing if this was through an actual bank? But Epstein didn't have that problem.
It might be that they were trying to buy up some assets. These sovereign funds are very dangerous in terms of their ability to come in after a big crash, and then they buy all the remnants of whatever crash is around, and then at pennies on the dollar. Jeffrey Epstein's the guy who would know what to buy because he's the one who helped crash it.
And this exactly. So this all ties into Kushner and 666 Fifth Avenue.
Right, that's interesting.
That's last day. That's from you, Rudy, you smoke our cigars.
You really got crazy at 666? Did you?
666 is our place.
666.
What's the
Havana?
Grand Havana?
Well,
Famous.
I'm not so sure that this was a bad investment. I think
You're
it
right.
might have been a little bit different. So this is what I was working on. I'm like in the home stretch, and I was like, and Lev messages me like, "Are you coming?" I was like, "Yes." Yeah, I just like totally was immersed in this because
You know,
I was
it's-
trying to
it's-
figure a few last pieces out.
It's such a good thread that you're pulling there, because that's in fact where this all leads to. It just, there's no doubt about it.
This is
I'm going to just show you something. I just pulled this up because I have to have it on hand here. This is the will that he. By the way, if you're ever looking for pictures of Richard Kahn and Darren Indike, it's very hard to find. Those are the two I was able to find. So they've got some really smart people helping
ladies,
scrub the
couple
internet
good-looking
of their
cats there,
images.
right? Couple good
Sorry?
looking dudes there, Richard Kahn and Darren,
Yeah,
like just
Darren,
a couple of movers and shakers.
Yeah, yeah, and I got that job. This is the will that, you know, the original will is scrapped just before he dies, or whatever, suicides or murdered or disappears, whatever happened to him. And then these two, Richard Kahn and Darren Indike, get possession of this estate, which wasn't previously what the plan was. So it's suspicious that they get the estate and then they dole out all this money to all these victims or survivors. $25 million worth
Just
plus
like a
more.
fraction of what they actually have. I mean, like it is the tiniest little fraction of the money that estate really has.
Then they pay off JP Morgan, or JP Morgan, gives the US Virgin Islands $240 million, also supposedly going to the victims, but I don't know if it ever did. And it just all becomes like a bit of a grift, it seems to me, after the death of Jeffrey Epstein. But it's also his girlfriend, Shilia, I forget her last name.
Oh, Karina Shiliak.
Karina, who's a Belarusian woman, I don't know what to say, whose father might be involved in all sorts
Female?
of intelligence operations.
The word
Belarus.
you're looking for is female. So
Female, yes, sorry.
Exactly. So we'll help you out.
You know, it's always difficult because they say that, you know, it's in them. Okay.
That's right. That's why Dean's here to help. Don't worry.
he,
about
she.
it.
I mean, what are her pronouns? Let's go there.
I was just talking, I get confused. It's always about the age, because, you know, when you talk about the women versus the girls in the story, they were girls when they were raped, but they're women now. So it's
I know,
always,
right?
that's where it gets confusing. But anyhow, my point being, you've got an unusual change in the will and testament just before Richard Kahn, the guy that's deposed today, who lied through his teeth, obviously, because he said he knew nothing about any crimes. He knew nothing about any wrongdoing that Jeffrey Epstein. It all happened behind the scenes. He did not come across any of the models or anything like that. All he did was facilitate payments as requested by Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, that is...
all he did was endless financial crime.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lie. It's a huge... No one could believe that. It just couldn't believe it. It's not possible.
Ellie, talk to me. I know you're
Oh,
busting.
I was just going to say, he's in like every single email. Like, I've never even thought about transcribing his emails because I don't have enough time left in my life to get through them all. He's in every email. He controlled every financial interaction, which would be everything that came out of JP Morgan would have gone through him, which we know that everything that came out of JP Morgan was corrupt and criminal. But also, like, on top of these liquid assets, or whatever you want to say, for the $650 million that he was worth, he also had this offshore Southern Trust that just kept making payments to some offshore account after he died, and nobody knew who was receiving them. Nobody knew what the payments were for, but the payments continued, and we don't know where they are or how much they are, but there's obviously offshore accounts. That was obviously very, very planned so that money couldn't be accessible, and that had to do with a lot of his like Virgin Island stuff. But there's money that we're not seeing that
I remember, to that point, I remember coming, I don't know if it was a text message or an email, but he was talking to Karina, and he had just casually said, and I don't know if it was redacted, and I assumed that, or I could actually see her name, but he wanted to make her an oligarch. He said that. He's like, I want to make you an oligarch. He didn't say Russian, but he just said, he said oligarch. And so I know that he left a lot to her, and then Lev was everything. That's right. And mentioning the intelligence. So I'll have to dig into that. That's really
but it's really interesting. If she's connected, her family's connected to Russian intelligence or Belarusian intelligence. And we think that he himself was connected to Russian intelligence. It's pretty wild that this is happening. Now, Richard Kahn also kept track for Jeffrey Epstein of Donald Trump's assets and tax declarations. Throughout the entire Epstein files, you get constant reminders of Epstein asking Kahn for the latest details, of Kahn forwarding Michael Cohen's emails to Jeffrey Epstein, where they're describing how many assets he really has, that Donald Trump really has all this money. It gets into the minutia quite a lot. Do any of you have and I'd be really interested in any of your answers, an idea of why he would be so interested in Donald Trump's finances during his presidency?
Well, I mean,
Let's talk to the OG mega sausage maker in the sausage factory lab.
I mean, makes a sausage. I love you, man.
It's about time you pulled up your phone.
This is after hours with Dean.
Yeah.
The kids are asleep. Hopefully, yeah.
Dog is fine. My partner is having spaghetti squash and sausage. Let's fucking deal some ham here, Lev.
I forgot the question.
This was about Richard Kahn. Richard Kahn looking at the finances of Donald Trump for Jeffrey Epstein.
Why does he want to keep tabs on Donald Trump's taxes? Why does he want to keep tabs? Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I think it's getting more and more obvious. Same thing is why we need to get Steve Bannon in there. Why we need to get Michael Wolff in there, because
Cohen.
you can see the link. Well, Michael Cohen, obviously. I'm scared to mention his name and not start shush. Every time we met, I don't know why we have this shirt. I have this shirt. It's crazy.
You named the group like you must have.
But that's the crazy part. You could
It's a boy band.
Everything goes haywire. You know what I'm saying to you. But yeah, I mean, look, at the bottom line is Epstein was definitely, and you saw through some of the text message emails, his relationship with Russia. I truly believe through, and what I'm working on, and still I can't give you factual like a smoking gun, but just like from the circumstantial evidence that me, Zev, and everybody else, from my opinion, is Epstein was definitely an asset for the Soviet Union, not even Russia, going back to the Soviet Union when it was the KGB. He was, then when in the 90s, when the fall happened, Epstein became an operative with these oligarchs and became a major, money mover. And because part of what the KGB that became the FSB and then Putin really unleashed was the oligarchy around the world. And these people needed people like Epstein to also get them into these situations, and to be able to get them into the right deals, to be able to give it to society, to be able to, in the 90s, before like what Ellie's going through, before like you said, microfiche and stuff like that. This was before even the internet was really around. And that's why I
used it. All of us university guys.
Correct, exactly. It's funny. It's like me and my wife were talking about. I asked her. I said, "Do you remember the beepers? We had beepers back then." Yeah. So yeah, it makes me feel so old. But yeah,
beepers are back in now. Everyone's got a beeper now, so it's okay.
So if you take a look,
Dr. Friends of
right. But if you take a look at exactly one of the emails that we've also found and we've spoken about is right before Trump went to meet with Putin in 2018, right up until those conversations, there was conversation between Epstein trying to get information to Putin, and there was information that Bannon was also, they were between Epstein and his brother talking about if Bannon was giving information. So from what I'm seeing and putting all the dots together is basically there was an operation going on into Donald Trump, and while he was a president, Epstein was digging into, during his impeachment, during all of these Michael Cohen stuff, trying to get more information, more compromise, more, and that's why I think Steve Bannon is going to be an extremely interesting individual in all of this with Michael Wolff, because I think they were playing both sides and they know a lot more about the relationship between Russia, Epstein, and Trump, and all of this, all the way up to when he was in presidency. Because I think the crimes occurred. See, this is where, and I want to make clear, because a lot of people say, "Oh, come on," the crimes occurred back then. Epstein has the information. That's why Epstein knew he has over the time. You see in these, he had the goods on Trump. That's why he said Cohen has the goods on Trump. He always kept saying there's goods on Trump. So he knew there was enough. But when Trump actually made it to the presidency, just like the Kremlin, just like the world, just like Epstein, everybody's like, holy shit, now we got this guy. So everybody started looking into what compromise, how they could use it and start. Epstein just didn't get a chance to continue. But
you don't think Epstein was in favor of Trump, was pushing Trump to be president? I think I got the sense in the emails that he was really supportive of Trump, maybe even involved in the whole effort to elect Trump.
Yeah, well, for his own purpose, because
I know.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I
He thought
think
that would have the dirt on Trump and he would be able to use him and manipulate. I don't think they got a chance to. I think.
Yeah, he looked at that like an opportunity, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. I think we're on the same page. I think, and that's where I think Bannon was such a useful tool in that because Bannon was so close in Trump's orbit that I think the two of them, and that's why Bannon was trying to re-image him, give him back in. I think the two of them had a longer plan. That if Epstein, and this is where I think Barr comes in, and I think this is why why Epstein got arrested when he did, why the cover up started, because I think Bannon and Epstein were looking to come to Trump with something, with the plan, with the deal, because they were working on something going on. But yeah, he was a benefit because he thought he was an idiot.
It's an open question. I think
Target. I
Yeah,
think
target.
Trump
That's
was
a
a
great way
target because I mean,
exactly.
if there's emails in there from Epstein's pilot pretty regularly about, okay, Trump's departing this time, we have to depart at this time, and I get the impression, like you had brought this up, Lev, but I get the impression Trump had no idea that was happening.
I agree with
I
you.
think he thought that Epstein was like in his network because there's emails of Epstein openly being at Mar-a-Lago during his presidency. So there's no way that Trump didn't know he was there, at least. Maybe they weren't like hanging out best friends, but I mean, he had to know he was there. But I don't think Trump knew he was a target the way he was.
Correct.
But
talking of Epstein, do you think that Epstein was targeting Trump?
Oh, yes, 100%. Trump was a
100%. I agree. I agree with Kate. 100%.
Yes.
Everything we've seen over the past, and yeah, like please kind of fill that story in. But everything we've seen in the past, I don't know, 2-3 document dumps, redactions, put them back in, take them out, Pam Bondi.
Yeah. So,
I think he. I don't know. I'm interested to hear everyone's opinions. I think he was for sure very happy that Trump was elected. And I get that from
because I think that and Kate, Ellie, Lev, you might be able to feed Zev, you guys might be able to kind of feed in on this, but I wanted to kind of interject here, not because I'm a pain in the ass, although if you ask people that live with me, they'll go, "You're a pain in the ass." But I think that when we talk about targets, I think we're talking about assets as targets. Like, I think that's what I think we're talking about.
Yes, I think to your point, I agree with you because in Epstein's world, this information was an asset to him, but he had targets who were, okay, I have this person who I keep tabs on for whatever reasons. And so I mentioned the sovereign wealth, right? And the sovereign wealth funds. But what I was thinking while I was writing this is, why would it stop with the sovereign wealth funds if none of this is on the books, right? That's where the Russian oligarchs come in because they're essentially their own wealth funds, but they can't place their money at all. And so if Epstein's doing this for these other sovereign wealth funds, so that's kind of like where I'm like, so that makes sense to me.
Kate, you're 100% right. And just to bring you up and show you what's happening here. Let me tell you what it's like being in Trump's orbit. People around Trump, especially in the second administration, the first administration, you had people like Bannon that were already doing it. But when you have connections like that, Trump is like a useful idiot. While he's running around, people around in his orbit are making money corruptly and doing whatever they can. So a guy like Epstein, and for him to have Bannon, who was Trump's guy on the inside in his campaign, to be able to give him information, to be able to have, it's like having his guy in the White House, and then Epstein having his connections worldwide, especially with the Kremlin. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. You could be, I mean, to understand that there's so much we could just, it's like having a Pandora's box. Yeah. It's endless of the things. That's just one situation in one case, and there's so many of them that the links are there are combined. So I agree with Kate 100% of that Donald Trump was a target. And that's why I even said, if you remember, was that when we spoke earlier, the difference between the first administration and the second with Trump, why he even ran on the Epstein files is because nobody ever showed him the Epstein files. Barr never showed it to him. No, Barr never showed it to him. So he never knew that he was so much in the Epstein files. He never realized that he was part of that whole orbit, looked into it. So he didn't understand that he was part of that whole orbit, not just Epstein. So when Pam Bondi showed him and he realized, that's when the shit hit the fan. Yeah. When they actually,
what do you think about Trump and Epstein?
I absolutely agree with the useful idiot. So during around that period of time when he was running and then getting elected, you could hear Epstein feeling out for answers among his people, right? He'd be emailing people and just seeing what they thought without giving his own opinion, because like he always does, he's trying to reel them in. So he's going to tell them what they want to hear. So he'd ask somebody, see what they thought, ask somebody, see what they thought. Some people are freaked out. Some people are way into it. I think the reason that he wanted Donald Trump in there is because prior to Donald Trump, there had been presidencies that blocked him from having the power he wanted to have in the administration, in global issues, in whatever. And all of a sudden, he had this administration that allowed him to play the way he wanted to play, because nobody was going to block him. And the way he was going to get to do that was through Steve Bannon, even though Steve Bannon had been let go from the White House. And you see, and I really firmly believe that it was a network between Epstein, Bannon, and Michael Wolff. I feel like there was this contingency between the three of them that was building up of Epstein in order to sort of re-enter the world, but at a bigger rate, as a bigger person, as more power. Because he's, like I said, he's talking to like the global finance minister of China and telling them how to take out a loan from the US. Like, why are you telling the global finance minister how to take out a loan? Like, he was very powerful, and these two men were working together in tandem to bring him back to power. And because Trump was in the White House and he's this useful idiot that everybody's managing the country despite the guy in the Oval Office, like, because he's just sitting there and has no idea what he's doing. Like, there are no checks and balances, and Epstein's in the White House, meeting with the Treasury Department. He has all these positions that he doesn't really have, and he could do that because nobody was like keeping an eye out. There was nobody, they're asleep at the wheel. The whole administration was asleep at the wheel. Whereas during the Obama administration, during the Bush administration, he didn't hold any power because he couldn't, because there was actual checks and balances, and the DOJ was working and people were paying attention. And he couldn't just walk into the Treasury Department and make decisions and attend meetings, because they'd be like, hey, by the way, you don't work.
Well, I think he did in 2008. I think he did that. But what you're saying is actually very important, because I think that Jeffrey Epstein was considered at one point for a cabinet position, if I'm not mistaken, in the Trump cabinet.
Really?
At least the name was thrown around.
I'd be curious to see who threw that name around.
Yeah, probably him. There is a you could one network here. Oh, maybe they represent different parties. Maybe they each have allegiances to different foreign intelligence agencies. Probably Bannon is linked to the Chinese. You've probably got Epstein linked to Israel and
Horshak has his hand up.
Yeah, but can I finish for a second?
Do you know what global bank works with more sovereign wealth funds than any bank in the world? Does anybody?
Deutsche Bank?
No. Rothschild.
Oh, yeah.
We'll give you the next thing. But if you just think of this one network, just get back to what I'm trying to say here.
Rothschilds.
Down.
Don't make the laugh. It's the best.
Do you guys remember who Horshak was, by the way?
Horshak, welcome back, Connor. Anybody?
Yeah.
No.
Zev, no?
Young.
Oh my God! I'm gonna send your YouTubes.
I have like blind spots in my cultural knowledge. That's what I was saying. You go one operation, and they said they've got Donald Trump elected and he's in the White House, but Jeffrey Epstein can't go see him in the White House. It's too controversial. Is there a thing where you've got him passing messages, as you were suggesting last week, Ellie Leonard, with Michael Wolff sort of running interference between the two? Maybe as Michael Wolff's writing Trump's book and he's supposedly writing Epstein's book at the same time. Is he using that as a way to communicate within the White House, to get messages inside the White House, and vice versa? Is Bannon then, after he leaves the White House, does he take on that kind of role where he's sort of playing an emissary between Epstein and the White House? So it's not so much that he's doing a real 60-minute documentary or whatever. That's not what he was really doing. He was just in that role, but being an intelligence, an information peddler, doing what he does, an operative in that world.
They were both fighting over him. Bannon and Wolff were fighting over who got to be closer and bester friends with Epstein and who got to revamp his image more. And who had better access to who. And Michael Wolff was 100% compromised in the world of journalism. Like, he was not there to tell Epstein's story, which he said Epstein begged him to do. Not the case. He really wanted to write Epstein's story, and Epstein was like, okay, fine.
But why would you have written that story? I mean, if he had all these hundred powers and he's got all the access,
Like,
Now,
for
where's the
Michael Wolff and
story?
Jeffrey Epstein, where Michael Wolff's like, please, sir, please, let me write your story.
I can't
Yeah,
imagine
right.
Michael Wolff turning down a book deal of any form and any time.
He's
no,
trying to
no.
sue Melania. Leave him alone. He's trying to sue Melania.
He is trying to sue Melania, isn't he?
Yeah, leave him alone.
Let's give the guy a break.
Give the guy a break. He's trying to sue Melania.
I was with the level that their
There you go.
relationship was. And again, I only transcribed 100 of the 1,800 pages of emails between Epstein and Michael Wolff. But like, it got to the point where Michael Wolff was like, who do you want me to crush for you to stop this story? Who do you want me to speak to for you? Who do you want me to connect you with? Like, it was this balance of like, who's got more power, who's connected to more, I'm gonna throw a lot of name dropping. And I started to wonder if he wasn't doing the same thing with all of this time inside the White House. Like, we've been led to believe that he's in the White House getting the dish so that he can write stories about Trump. But that's what we thought he was doing with Epstein. And he absolutely 100% wasn't. He was like hanging out and traveling with him and becoming best friends with him. And so I questioned like what information was given back and forth, who got it, what information disappeared, because that's a thing that Michael Wolff did in journalism. He would disappear stories. And so I don't know where I was going this, but like, I feel like those two men, Bannon and Wolff, their whole job became to bring Epstein into the fold, except for Epstein was bringing them.
And they were,
into the fold.
what you were saying is they were in competition for who's getting closer to him.
But it's for movies love.
Mommy's love.
In one network, in one single network.
so-
Imagine people operating in a single club.
Yeah.
I have a
All
question.
trying to achieve the same goals for themselves, maybe as Putin wants or whatever, but they're trying to achieve the same goals. So they're, it's the same as any corporation, any club is going to be jockeying for positions, but at the end of the day, they were all pulling in the same direction.
And that's something you said very important. I just want to touch on that
sure.
quickly is because a lot of people, when we mention Russia or China or Putin, all people start thinking, assets where, it's like get smart, that they, go into a secret passageway. No, these people like Epstein and them like that, they're power, money hungry. They're being used by these governments and they're using their influence, information to be around, to trade off, to make money. This is what it's all about. They use the power of influence while the governments use them. And then once the compromise gets, after certain years, the compromise gets to a certain point, then there is nowhere out. They have to, then they become compromised. And it's the same story with all of it. I've seen it happen over my years around a lot of these guys, but starts off
Such a good point, Lev.
Literally what my piece is about. Like what this was the parts that I was writing. I cannot wait to finish this when we're done.
awesome.
So you should speak to Lev because he's a great
Yeah,
on this topic. This is the list of 5 people that Richard Kahn said today all the money came from. He gave 5 entities that said all the money came to Jeffrey Epstein from Steven Sinofsky. And we're all asking, who is Steven Sinofsky? Turns out to be former Microsoft guy. Interesting because it opens up the whole Bill Gates Microsoft story. And the other 4 we sort of knew already. We knew about Leon Black, we knew about Les Wexner, we knew about Glenn Dubin, and we knew about the Rothschilds. This is just one of them, of course. There's a whole family of them. The truth of it is, this can't be the entire list. This seems like a convenient list to put out because these are the names that are currently in the public light already. But there's probably much more than just these 5. Anyone want to take that?
I just am really glad that Glenn Dubin is being named because I feel like he's the one who's gotten away with the most without getting his reputation tarnished. Leon Black has actually had lawsuits against him. Wexner has, the Rothschilds have a huge reputation, but Glenn Dubin has just been like moving along with his wife, and he could be one of the most active players in this story as far as the abuse of girls. And so I'm really glad that he was at least named and his picture is up and people are talking about him because I don't think that happened before.
So Black's testifying soon. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. As is Darren Indike on the 19th, I think. If I'm not mistaken. Richard Thomas today, 19th. Leon Black, I think, is later in the month. But here's the question I would ask. And we all understand the fallout from this, obviously, with the children and the women and the sex trafficking network, But These are people that control global power balance, right? You know, the Rothschilds family, Les Wexner, Leon Black, Steven Sinofsky, Glenn Dubin. These are people that control enormous wealth, like enormous wealth around the world, and specifically the Rothschilds family.
Yes.
So when we talk about controlling enormous wealth, and Kate, maybe I'll send this to you because you and I haven't had this is our first time we've met. Nice to meet you. Kate.
I know. Nice to really meet you.
Great work. I really appreciate what you do.
It gets old super fast, Kate. It gets super
Yeah, she'll get.
Okay, go on.
You'll get sick to me, like Ellie's sick to me, everybody's sick to me. But the question I would ask is, what is the commonality you see or the common denominator from everything that you guys have read? And Lev, I'd love for you to lean into this too, because you know these people, you're aware of these people, you've worked with these people, you ran interference on behalf of Trump for these people, knowingly or unknowingly. It doesn't matter. I mean, you know, obviously unknowingly, but Kate, what is it that you see? What is the common denominator between these people? Is it power? Is it influence? Is it dodging taxes? Like, what is it about these people?
I think it's a little bit of everything. So again, this is very much what my piece is going to be about that I'm going to publish next. But it's a combination, in my opinion, of because this is where all that wealth movement comes back into play. You know, like obviously the wealth is the common denominator here. And then I'm sure there's lots of other threads, you know, whether it's certain countries that they have interests in, whatever it is. But the wealth is ultimately what it is. But where I think they all have common denominators is at some point they are either compromised or doing the compromising. Like Epstein was providing something, because I was trying to figure this out as I was writing, like how does the trafficking fit into this? I mean, obviously there's multiple different avenues that there is with that, because there was, you know, they had trafficking that happened here in the United States. They had it in multiple countries. So there's lots of layers to that. But what I think it is it was intelligence gathering. So he had what they called the BBB girls, and I forget her name. She ran something Best and Brightest. I can't remember her name. She ran the Best and Brightest. And
They're talking about that.
Yeah, she...
Is her name Melania?
Oh, you never know.
Oh, that's the best.
She might.
That's big.
I have a whole thread I'm going to go down with that one. But so he would get, you know, women and offer them mostly from other countries and offer them opportunities for networking and career building in
Eastern Bloc
exchange.
countries, right? Yeah.
Mostly, yeah. Primarily, yeah. And offer them career opportunities in exchange for going on dates, and then, you know, whatever made these men happy, and he would use them to gather intelligence. And I think that was a large part of that. And I think that intelligence gathering was how he would compromise people into continuing the cycle. So you're going to pay me that higher rate to do this, or else I'm going to release whatever this is. And so I think it kind of sucked people in. So some of them are compromised. I feel like a lot of these people, Leon Black was definitely compromised. He was definitely not someone who was smart enough to be managing all of this. I feel like they got caught, and I feel like Les Wexner might have gotten.
Leon Black's ruthless and a real creature of...
Don't forget who Les Wexner is. You know,
when I say smart enough, I mean
tough guys.
These are.
I mean, in terms of not being compromised. Like, I feel like Epstein was
compromised as far as what, Kate? Let me ask you, financially,
as far as getting himself
with
into a situation where he was thinking with the wrong head.
Oh,
you know,
that's different. Well, no, that ends up.
You know, I feel like maybe he didn't have the control there, and something got him in trouble early on. Because I feel like and then
power
go ahead.
Thrill that he got out of it, yeah. But what you're talking about is really important. The financial compromise is what they went after a lot of the time. Compromise to allow them to do their own deals, to make their own money, to compromise other people, to make sure that other deals fell. Like, they would have been in charge of the financial. It was much more important than the sexual side, I think.
Yeah,
It's
that
the
was
spot, it's the
very
money.
much like just as it was a tool to get that intel, to get that, because these girls would be in rooms with
Thank you,
these
Kate.
men who had no idea
Thank you,
that they were
Kate.
spies.
Absolutely.
Had no
100%.
idea, but there's multiple emails of Epstein
Yes.
going back and forth with these girls,
And it
coaching
happens till
them.
this day. Till this day, they
Yeah,
usually
and
the
that's
girls.
what they're
Yeah,
that's the honeypot and mostly.
exactly.
And then obviously it goes further and there's lots of abuse. And then there's these men who can't control themselves
Well,
and
well,
they
well,
want
let me.
what they want. So
But Lev, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if anybody's seen the movie Red Sparrow, and I'm a movie guy, but that's what Kate's talking about. We're talking
Yeah.
about an FSB fucking
Well-
pillar of espionage, right?
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
it's not only FSB, but it happens in actually the oligarchy work, because this compromise is gathered by different types of organ, not just
Mhm.
just when we say Russian, doesn't have to be actual FSB. There's so many
Yeah.
different people that compromise. Like I give you, like Hunter Biden, for instance. When the FSB took a copy of his laptop, so did Zlochevsky, the owner of so there was compromise from both sides. So this use of girls and honeypots, and this is a very good subject that we're talking about with, and Kate is doing a great job on this to differentiate what from my just being around in that world, knowing how some of these powerful people act, is that when they get comfortable, like guys like Leon Black, and this is why it's a good example when you say they're
Yes.
smart. Yeah, they're powerful, they're smart, and they're so powerful and smart that they can't be themselves in the regular world. They can't just go order an escort or do something. They're scared of, or cheat, because like a celebrity, they usually get comfortable around somebody that they feel is like good. So what happens is when they start doing business with a guy like Epstein, I'll give you an example of how this works. They start doing business with a guy like Epstein. They start go dinner. They start building a relationship. Next thing you know it, they get closer. He says, "Oh, by the way, look at this young girl. Oh, she's beautiful. Oh, would you like a massage? Oh, really? Oh, okay. Next thing you know, he got a massage. First time, nothing big deal. He's more, come to my island, or
Kept
let's
his
go."
underwear on.
Yeah, and before you know it, they let their guard down, and they feel like
Yep.
they become in a world where, like Kate says, they start thinking with the other head, but they think
Mhm.
because they're so powerful, and they're so that they think that they're still in control of the situation with guys like Epstein. But what really is happening is guys like Epstein over the years is using that for financial money power, and then using that influence then to push. Because remember, once you're in the world, people say blackmail. You don't have to blackmail when Leon Black knows that he's been caught in compromising positions, and all of a sudden you're Epstein. You come, hey Leon, I need a favor. Are you gonna say no? You don't say no in those circles. That's why they become like a brotherhood of such, where they don't think, and that's why for so many years all of these survivors have been suffering with the cover up, because it's not pertained to one party or one. They really became untouchables.
They're the
because it's
wonderful secrets that
the
Trump
secrets.
speaks about
Correct.
in the birthday book.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And
Something
then
to
listen,
keep checking, right?
if anybody wanted a better explanation from anybody who's been on the inside of how this works, it's Mr. Lev Parnas.
Wait, Ellie's over
Brian
there.
Congress.
Allie's over there, the sausage make.
No.
Vegan, we're walking there. Live that and Kate does it very accurate. Go ahead, Ellie.
Yeah, thank you.
I was just going to say, I heard something, and I don't know if you guys have heard this before, and this is just a little soft. I don't know if you guys have ever talked with Marlon Weems before. He's the journeyman on Substack, but he has talked to me a couple of times. Great guy. He used to work in finance on Wall Street. And he said, he knows some of the stories of the things that happened down there, but he said when he worked there, there was always discussion of one guy who was nameless, who had a black book, who had information on everybody. And he said that was just known. It was just known where he worked that there was some guy with a black book
That
on,
guy.
and it was talked about. There was that guy. And he goes, I didn't really think about it for many years. And he's like, now I'm thinking about it.
We were talking about Donald Trump or Jeffrey Epstein, because both of
He
them
was talking about
were
Jeffrey
involved in
Epstein,
that kind of
which
stuff.
Well, one
was in
thing I just
finance, it was
wanted
in
to
the finance
add on to that, because my husband had thrown this at me the other day. It was just something that one of his friends had said. He's like, and I have no idea if this is true. It was just something that they said, but the Dos Equis thing, like the most interesting guy in the world or the most interesting man in the world, he's like, I think that was like supposed to be Epstein.
Dos
And I was
Equis.
like,
Yeah,
it's
I know.
it's like he's like, and everything's mysterious, but he has and knows everything, and everyone wants to be him, but nobody
Yeah.
can get. And I was like, wow, maybe, like,
most-
I mean, it would make sense because he knew all these people, right? Like he was in these networks.
But the thing about
So,
it that,
it was
that would
interesting.
lean
It was an
into the
interesting thought.
Dos Equis narrative is that, and Lev, maybe you can kind of share this your perspective because you know these people, but you know, he seemed pretty nonchalant in all those emails, didn't he? You know, like other
Depends
than
on who you
panicking
talk
when
to.
the walls are closing in, like he seems like, hey, yeah, we're gonna do this. You come to the island. I've got these girls. It's all good. You're gonna have a great time. There was this like real kind of aura that I got from those emails, and maybe you guys could kind of respond to that.
Depends on who he was
Untouchables.
talking to. Yeah.
Yeah.
He had different personalities for everybody he was talking to, and
Yes, he
his
did.
personalities would change over time with the people he's talking to as his relationship. So
That's
his,
really interesting.
and the way-
Yeah.
how he
I've
talked
never
to
heard anyone
humans.
say that about him, and that would be really interesting if you could like
Yeah.
work on explaining that a little bit further.
That's a great point to what we're
Yeah.
talking about. Go ahead, Ali.
I know I've overanalyzed it way too much.
No, it's a great
No,
point.
that's right.
That's why. That's why. That's why he's able to do what he's done because you
Right.
have to be a like a multiple chameleon.
Well, it's like a
because-
neurodivergent. I feel like I relate to
He-
that a little bit because
I thought
I
he was autistic.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I am. I'm ADHD or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, keep going. Anyway, I didn't
Mm.
mean to interrupt you.
He
but
said
yeah.
he said in one of his emails he thought he was autistic. But like if you look at his emails to his brother, they're all one word answer, one word answer. So that really identifies the relationship and how, you know, versus what Mark was seeking love from his brother and he was just kind of shutting him down, shut him down. When he started his relationship with Bannon, he had 2-3 word answers. By the end of their relationship, when Bannon had the upper hand and was meeting with global leaders and going places, and doing
Fucking
the things
poetry.
Epstein wanted to do. Right. And then Epstein was living vicariously through him. He's living vicariously through him as he travels to meet these people because he's becoming more and more isolated. He has these kind of long and gushing letters of like, what's going on, guys? What are you doing? Like his whole personality would change depending on if he was speaking to one of the women who worked for him, who was younger, versus someone like Fergie, who was older. And then as Fergie became more needy and wanted more from him, he would close off and start doing 2-word emails. Like he shifted his
And he was
personality.
strategic. So like I feel
Yeah.
like some of it was personality shifting to a comedy, but some of it was like you could tell he'd studied the psychology of like battering
Yeah, he
people
read a
and
lot.
making them victims and making them dependent and how to use that language.
Yeah, well, he had a formula,
dependent
right?
on the
Like
keyword.
you
he
talk about.
he had a lot
Yeah,
of
you
layers
had
to
a
it.
whole fucking thing. Like you go through the emails and the work that you two incredible stalwarts have put into this. You know, what I get out of both of your work, Kate, Ellie, everybody follow both of them, hit the chiron at the top immediately.
And don't
Is
forget
that
to-
you
don't forget
really
him.
send
Forget.
I do agree with
I
Zev. I
don't
don't
even attend to it so much.
you know. Every day I sing Zev's praises. So
Yeah, we love each other, and you know,
we're in love. We're in love. We got
I
digital
can't wait to
thing.
hear more about it later, but
there'll be an after show.
After show.
But there was a theory that he had. There was a formula that he'd worked on, and
There's a
the degree
formula,
that he
and
was writing in Harvard.
And it was on like it was like and if you remember the pictures that were, and I go back to this, listening to you, incredible reporters and investigative reporters talking about, you know, this kind of formula where he kind of perfected it. And I got to tell you, like, as someone who understands that kind of mentality, Lev, you might be able to understand this mentality. When you know you got someone, you don't have to give them anything.
absolutely. And
Not
that's
to
why,
say nothing.
That's why
He
I
gave
went
nothing to
with-
Ken Starr.
That's what I went with Ali and Kate and Trevor talk about. That's why it's so important. It's part of so like if it's when you're trying to get something, you're that sweet kind of guy where you're trying to get. Once you got him on the hook, all of a sudden now you're trying to, it's like not speak to him because the more you're not paying him attention, the more he wants you, and you start playing that game until you manipulate. And the whole key
Sexy
is
deference is what it's called.
Well,
Sexy.
a lot of the guys, it
Sexy
wasn't
deference?
back then also with a lot of these guys, it wasn't just the sexual stuff. There was a lot of stuff from there was also drugs, a lot of people. It all had to do with secrets. It had to do because when you're so powerful, and a lot of these groups, I've also saw a lot of this happen in Hollywood. When I had my little stint, when I went into LA, and I said, so all of these cliques have that when they're in their little clique and they feel comfortable, they let their guard down. And when they let their guard down, they feel untouchable because they're so powerful and they're so they're so connected. And that's why you see what happened, and not only the Epstein, but you saw what happened with Weinstein. You saw what happened with P. Diddy, even though P. Diddy didn't get convicted on all of that stuff. But you saw it's the same type of a clique situation. This Epstein is just on the highest level of the world. This is not Hollywood. This is, you're talking about other countries, on top level presidents, prime ministers, royalty, and so on. The whole key, and that's why I agree with Zev, Ellie, and Kate, is it's all start and was all about power and money and influence. Right. All of the other stuff, the sexuality, yes, their true colors came out. And then you start seeing it over the years being manipulated, used. Some enjoyed it, some used it for money. It was all in different ways, but it was all
currency.
The appendages. It was about using biology of deception to create appendages of yourself have other humans become appendages of yourself. That was his theory. Right. Yeah, which is just kind of bizarre. Like when you think about it, this dissertation, that's crazy to think about that, but that's what he was doing. And also what he was doing in real life in trying to lure all these people, these high-end professionals, these women, everyone, to sort of create this aura of mystique, create this aura of this enigma, of this super powerful person. But he probably wasn't, on his own, he would have had none of that power, but emboldened by the foreign money and the criminality and he was able to sort of intersect all these worlds together and create quite a powerful operation that I still think to this day, we're not quite seeing how close Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were to each other. No. And there's a little clue to them.
That's all those files they won't show us.
Yeah. Hey, listen, when you cancel the Zorro Ranch LiDAR investigation of 2019 and you continue to, not give the Epstein Transparency Act everything that they've asked for. And on top of it, during that whole experience, you get to a point where you're like, oh my God. We now have Richard Kahn saying that Donald Trump had to pay off a minor through the Epstein estate, or, whether or not you want to use that language doesn't matter to me. That's how I look at it.
Something like that happened. Yeah.
And then you've got
so that's a
million, again, I go through the whole exercise, and Lev, you go through it with me all the time. 1 million unredacted mentions of him. And 31 different, if it walks and talks, it is what it is. Donald Trump, according to Richard Kahn today, and this is kind of the takeaway I have, and I do have a heart out because my partner has just told me I got to leave. That's why I don't do 10 o'clock. I'm an own man.
We'll wrap up after your answer.
But everything that these incredible people, whether it's Kate or Ellie or Lev, firsthand experiences, Zev, the financial trail going back to 1980. I mean, this is here. This is happening. Like if you're on the outside of this and you're a MAGA guy, cool, great. What about girls? What about these women? What about these children? What about the families that were destroyed by settlements they had to give people to prevent them from actually coming back and destroying this pedophile sex trafficking ring that has gone on for fucking 40 years?
It's
40
disgusting.
years.
And it does need to end, and it is still going on.
The settlements weren't necessarily fair either. They didn't hand every girl the same check. They handed some.
Exactly. Whoever they tried to negotiate. Right.
Some walked away with not even enough to pay their legal bills.
Exactly.
But the headline tonight really is that the Epstein criminal network, the state that was the criminal network, paid off Donald Trump's security. I mean, that's just plain fact. In order to keep them quiet. I mean,
you know what? If I can, I want to throw it to Lev here in a second. But if I can, this is the first tangible connection.
Okay, go on. There's no more. That's what I'm saying to you. This is the link to, and if anything, that's what I'm saying to you. When we talk about criminal proceedings and everything, but at the least, Donald Trump needs to step down, just like
And-
everybody else, or at least have some. There has to be. I mean, right now today we had a witness literally come out and say that yes, the Epstein estate paid off a victim that was 13 to 15 years old that basically said Donald Trump raped the folks. And there's and the,
And it was
1984.
paid. Like
It was paid. Well, they
Yes,
paid the money.
So
I mean,
this is paid. I
She says
mean,
that in her deposition too. She says that she's like, I want to say this up front, just so I don't know if this is going to get me in trouble, but I was paid by the Epstein.
I swear.
So when was that? Was that 2019 or 2020?
2023.
It might be
23, okay.
I thought it was between 2020 and 2021. I could be wrong. But
It could be, but I just want to say to you that is one of the main reasons. I swear to you, if I was in Congress right now, you would hear such. I mean, I would kick such. I can't even explain.
and to that
you.
point,
Right now,
the other thing I just want to say is that Bassett is not releasing those financials. Like he's the one that's saying, nope, I'm not getting. And that is why there's that. And then it goes back to all of this sovereign money and all of this stuff that I'm talking about. And this is why. And the fact that there's somebody who can say that, no, we're not going to release that. I mean, that is absolutely wild, especially after what we heard today. I don't know how they can allow that.
It's a good place to wrap up today's show, but I want to give everyone an opportunity to talk about what they're doing and what they want to promote. And again, Lev, I'm going to start with you because you got some big news that you just shared with everyone last week. So tell everyone what you're up to and how it can help you out.
Folks, well, I love all of you, and we have an incredible, all of you out here. The support is amazing. The first thing is always go support this incredible group here of independent journalists. Ellie, Kate, Dean, Zev, Waj is not here as part of our team usually. I mean, we are what somebody called the Wolfpack, folks. I got my shirt today. I finally, Michael Cohen gave us the name, but each and every one of you, we are all the Wolfpack. And I just want to say this, the Epstein files, it's all about speaking truth to power. Each and every one, I mean, if you take a look at these incredible people here that every day they go out there breaking stories, talking about, they're speaking truth to power. And it's not easy because a lot of these stories, not everybody liked them. There's certain stories, truth that we came out, people were like, no, we want to go. And we had to stand on our merits. And that's why the truth is the truth. It doesn't matter what side you are, if you're Republican, Democrat, what religion you are, what color you are, the truth is the same, and facts matter. And that is why the one thing I do want to ask you folks is if you can, please donate to leftpartners.org. It's our campaign. I'm running for the 27th seat district here in the state of Florida. But it's not only for the state of Florida, it's for each and every single one of us, for the Wolfpack, for every person out there that wants to get accountability from this government, because I'm the only person that knows Donald Trump, that knows their inner circle, that has the receipts, and that needs to get into Congress and show these Democrats how it's time to fight and stop taking a knee to everything that's going on. So if you can, go again to leftpartners.org and contribute if you can. Thank you.
So we have American campaign subscribers. They can also become contributors to your campaign. Is there something they should know about the difference between the two?
Thank you, Zev. I appreciate that because I do want to do a disclaimer. So first of all, for the paid campaign, only for American citizens. For all of our international subscribers, God bless you, but you can't contribute to the campaign. Only
That's got us in trouble before.
Exactly.
You go to jail again.
Exactly. We'll make sure, and if anybody has, please let us know. DM me. I will we'll get it back to you immediately. But I am going to every member's platform. This is our home here, Substack. This is something, it's like, a doctor that becomes a congressman or a lawyer becomes a congressman. They get to keep their job. Well, this is my job. I get paid from paid subscribers. So if you want to support my work, which I'm going to be doing here, I'm actually going to be, as a surprise, I don't know if you guys know, but I'm planning on doing my campaign, guys, as a reality show. I'm going to do one. Yeah. Well, when I may say reality show, I'm saying
we wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh, no, because you know what? I want everything to be in the open. No backdoor deals, no conversations. You want to speak to me on camera, the whole world's going to know about it. You want to cut a deal. So this is what I'm trying to do. So for all the paid subscribers, obviously, it's my home. I'm going to give you incredible content. So it's only going to get better. But that's the way to support me individually. But the campaign is the most important thing because it's to save our democracy. If you can, that's leftpartners.org. And we're going to take our democracy back with our Wolfpack here.
It's a really smart idea to do the reality show. Great idea, Lev.
The Real Housewives of the 27th District.
Well, you know what? Everybody. The biggest thing about these campaigns and everything is what happens behind the scenes, what the public doesn't know about, and that. So you know what I said? Enough is enough. You know what? One of my platforms that I'm running to Congress is to blow up all of this, secrecy, all of this cabal, all of this corruption that's going on that I've witnessed, been a part of, went to prison for. I went to prison. Yeah, I went to prison for some of the stuff that I know. Who better than me to tell you who I gave the money to, and then have these people. Can you imagine me, like Jamie Raskin said, Lev? All I want to do is have you sit next to me while we're going to have the house, and we're going to subpoena these people, and you're going to question them. Can you imagine that?
That'd be great.
That's going to be incredible.
And at the same time, showing them their own texts.
Exactly. Yeah. The campaign's going to get interesting. It's about, right now, I don't know, there's a lot of breaking news happening here. Just if I could touch on 2 seconds, guys, because it has to do with Marco Rubio, Venezuela, Donald Trump. There's actually a hearing coming up in Florida right now that Marco Rubio's right-hand man that is connected to basically a cabal here in Florida that I used to work for, Brian Ballard and everybody, that is now connected to a $50 million bribery from the Maduro's government to guess who was involved? Susie Wiles. And Marco Rubio is a witness. So it just broke. We're breaking some of this news right now.
Wow, that's huge news.
This is
I didn't know that.
So just I want to let you know that this is just the beginning. That's why, and I need my wolf pack with me, because we're going to Epstein is just the beginning, where there's everybody. The wolf pack has been formed, each and every one of you, that we're not going to allow, we got some plans. I've said some plans. Dean, I know Ellie, Kate, we're all working on a lot of stuff together, that once it comes together, you guys will be very happy.
All right, that's Lev Parnas. Ellie, do you want to go?
Oh, I was going to say, I'm going to keep working on this case out of South Carolina, because I'm in too far to give up now. And I need to figure out, the main points, what's true, what's not true. And right now that means reading these tiny little articles that say who the real estate agents were and trying to find them and trying to talk to them. And I've determined who all the players are in this case. I know the names of all the people behind the scenes. And so now I just need to figure out if there's any documentation at all that can verify who was where and when. And
you should do a show just on this together, because I've got my own version of these facts. It'd be great to go back and forth and see who found out what. And everyone should subscribe to Ellie Leonard at the Panic Writer. Is still called that, or is it just
I know. I just changed it.
Hey, no, she's got thousands of subscribers now. Yeah. Panic Writer.
I don't know what the alternative, the opposite of Panic Writer would be. The highly confident, successful,
totally
incredible
calm.
Substack.
Ellie, tell me how your son felt when he came home and he got all those subscribers on his YouTube.
He woke up and he only had 11 subscribers on his YouTube, and he lost 2 overnight, and he was devastated. And his friends are very competitive about it. And I was like, well, hold on, I'll just put something on Substack. And he came home to 1,000 subscribers.
Wow. Yeah.
I know. He loves to make films and animate, and he's a very smart little cookie. So
cool.
He's
Awesome.
Well, let's share his information with me, because we're doing some logo stuff with a couple of different companies. So we'll talk again. Yeah.
Sure.
Dean, do you want to tell everyone about deanblundell.substack.com and all the great things you do there?
Nah.
Tell everyone all the great things. Everyone should subscribe to Dean Blundell.
Listen, I'll tell you why I'm here. This is the truth. I never do anything after 7:00, and I'll tell you why. And y'all mocked me before in the private chat. We're like, oh, he's up at 7:00. I fucking love you people. I love everybody here. And I'll tell you why I love everybody here. We're all chasing the same thing, which is merit, which is truth. And to be here with all of you today is so incredible. So I have nothing to promote. I don't want anything from anybody. I just want to tell everybody here, it is such a fucking privilege to be involved in this group, to be involved in chasing history, to be in this group of people who, I can truthfully tell you the merit of their values matches the merit of their works. These aren't words. These are people who prove it every single fucking day. So do me a favor and subscribe to Lev Parnas, LevParnasForCongress.org. Send him a bunch of money. All your money. Same thing with Kate. Same thing with Ellie. Same thing with Zev.
And
It is
Ellie's
honor-
son as well.
Yeah, I don't need that. And listen, I'm here to amplify people that are smarter than me, and to be on this panel with all of you is such a wonderful experience. And I'm celebrating my first anniversary on Substack.
Oh,
Congratulations. That is so
First
amazing.
anniversary on Substack, and I want to point to one person right there. That guy, Zev Shalev, that literally.
You're pointing to me, but okay.
That's okay.
I was gonna say
On my
Gotta get
screen,
clear.
that's Zev. But I
Should
want
move
to
around.
point something out, is that Zev Shalev has been at this for years. And watching all of you be validated through the process and to be involved in that, my God, it's the honor of my lifetime. I love you all. I really do. I love Lev Parnas. I think Ellie Leonard is.
He's good when he stays up late, eh? He gets on.
I know. We got your like this for often.
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah.
Oh, am I muted? You
It's
can't
okay.
hear
We
me?
got it.
You got me.
Lex
You
is
got me.
tired too.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, it's the glitch in the machine. But I've gotten to know Ellie Leonard. That woman right there sent me a $25 Starbucks certificate for my birthday.
Oh,
Like, out of
sweet.
nowhere.
Me too. Just how
I
much
know
you know,
she
me
did.
too.
I know.
I love her.
This is
It's
such a
incredible.
group. This is a family of people that look out for each other, love each other.
Yep.
And we're here to do that for you too. So if you can do everybody a favor here, all of us, I want you to subscribe to Kate Justice, Kate, we're going to get to know each other.
Incredible.
You and I are going to do some
Mhm.
one-on-ones. You are incredible.
True.
Ellie, who is a fucking North Star. Zev, who has been fucking literally put through the ringer by the machine that he's still exposing. And Lev Parnas, who fucking did jail time to be here.
Yeah.
Folks, we mean it.
You
And
know.
follow these beautiful people today. That's all I have to say.
From the big house to the house, the people's house is right down. That's the story is going to be about.
That sounds like
Kate Justice,
Last
tell everyone
time.
about your site, because you just turned this into a full-time job for yourself. So
I literally
everyone
did.
needs to be subscribing to you.
That's really
Thank you. I was
thankful.
laid off
Okay.
over, I don't even know what month it was. And so I was looking for a job and I started writing, and the whole Kate Justice thing came about because I did a lot of activism around government corruption and Superfund sites. Specifically, it was more related because I live in one. And so I just started writing, and then it evolved into the Epstein files, and I can talk about that forever. But this month is really kind of my first month where I'm like, wow, I think I can pay my bills and do this full time.
That's
And,
awesome.
so now I'm like trying to figure out how I sustain this and keep writing for everyone. And you all kind of know what I'm working on. I'm literally hoping to publish it tonight because I probably won't be able to help myself. So, yeah. So
Fucking
stay
hurry
tuned.
up.
Thank you.
Hurry up,
No.
Jay.
Jared Kushner stuff, and you got some great Jared stuff on your site. And about
And
Jared
thank you
Kushner
guys for
information
having
feed.
me. Yeah.
I'm going to send that to you afterwards. One last thing, I didn't say that Richard Kahn mentioned that there was another head of state who was not American head of state, but a foreign head of state who was a client of Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, I have my guesses on who that is.
Barack. I believe that.
I don't think it's a Hood Barak. I don't think it's a Hood Barak.
You don't think
I
it's
don't think
Barack?
so.
No, I think it was mentioned. There was something I saw. I don't know if it
I
was
think it's-
Aaron who
it's-
posted it. Maybe it was a screenshot of someone's tweet. And
I know that Putin, by the way, I'm just because I know we've all been go, but Putin is one possibility because Putin was rumored to be a client of Jeffrey Epstein, and Jeffrey
Oh,
Epstein certainly bragged about that. And the second one is the King of England, Mike is there. On that note, I'm going to say goodnight, everybody. And thank you for
guys.
being here on this great Epstein Network panel. We'll see you again next time.
I love y'all.
Thank you.
I love
guys.
Love you more.
Good
We love
night.
you, everybody. Good night, everybody.